I am Sharon Matthias, the owner of HeroesAreHumans2.com. Thank you for following me on social media. And today, join me in welcoming my guest, Dr. Kimberly Muktarain. Dr. Muktarain is the president of Save Our Sons Incorporated. She has broad experience advocating complex cases in both federal and state courts involving criminal and family cases. In the actions that followed, Charles Pittman and Andrew Smith were arrested. They, as far as I know, that you have represented them at some capacity. Can you speak about this?
Absolutely. Andrew Garcia was the young man who attempted to allegedly throw fire to burn the slave market house down. Unfortunately, what happened is when he closed the door, the fire blew back on him and set him afire, where he was immediately rushed to the hospital and later brought on charges by the federal government. Why? Because he attempted to burn a building down that was protected by our federal government. He now sits awaiting trial, or his sentence will be held between May and June. And again, he is an American citizen who is one that we speak about. He has gone through the public school system, a system that has not been very kind nor effectual for him. He has suffered from much poverty right here in the town of Fayetteville, and we are seeing just a replica of brokenness that comes or stems from slavery that was never rectified.
And as you said, Putnam pleaded guilty to 2 charges for maliciously burning. This was noted statewide in the newspaper. And we live in a world of symbols, and which attach meaning to it.
Yes.
What do the symbols of the market house mean to African Americans living in Cumberland County? What do you think it means to us?
What I believe the market house symbolizes is oppression. It is a glorified way of saying that we are still in power. It tells Americans, African Americans, that they are reminded to stay in their place. And that may manifest under a person's knee. That may also manifest when you choose to kneel on your own knees, such as Colin Kaepernick, and what comes after you not staying in your place. So across the board, the slave market house says that we own you. We own you in employment. We own your rights to speak. We own your rights to live. And we own your quality of life.
For people to continue to have to ask says that we've catered more to master than we have understood the slave. I think America has done a disservice by overemphasizing slavery without talking about the sociopathic nature of masters. When we begin to call that type of lifestyle or thinking for what it is, we won't give it a pass. We will actually say you're sick and you need to be put away. No one would allow such a system to continue to evolve after 400 years and say it's okay. It should not be evolved. It should be abolished.
And you believe that a market house is a symbol of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even today, under the state of North Carolina Department of Corrections, a pedophile is not allowed to hold on to any pictures or memorabilia of his victims. A pedophile is not allowed to have in his cell. That is a shot, that is a warning, that can get them put in isolation. That hinders their ability to receive parole. That even tells the standard as to what facility he'll be placed in, who he can be around, what he can have in his cell, based off of that charge. I don't think America has been charged with the crimes against humanity for 400 years. And when you don't charge them criminally, you allow it to perpetuate itself civically.
Slaves won't, they were not auctioned there. They were settled as estate. It was not like what was taking place in other states. So how do you answer to the residents around here that feels that strength of pride when they look at that building as a symbol of what Fayetteville was in the 18th century,
Well,
19th century?
first of all, I like to say that Fayetteville itself is stolen property. It belonged to the Native Americans, or what they would say was Native Americans. So I just don't look at the slave market house. I think the slave market house is a continual of theft, robbery, and murder.
The slave market house is just a erected building that symbolizes the continual years of further hate and murder that goes along with post-colonialism.
My other question, in terms of some residents, as I said, they are hurt and angry that their businesses were looted, destroyed, and they want justice. If you were seated in a debate, what would you say to them?
Well, I think that, the laws do call for protection. I think insurance is also a form of protection. And I also believe that protection is a human right, especially when you are a part of a society that provides law enforcement. However, when it comes to rioting and looting, I also have to remind myself of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who said, riots are the language of the unheard. And so when we talk about what happened, this is a reaction to something that should have happened years ago. And that the business owners should not be angry per se at the looters and the rioters as much as it is a system that have allowed them to thrive, many of them, off of the same privileges and white privilege that is awarded and afforded to so many across this state and across this nation. So again, what are the civilized ways by which African Americans and other people of color can pridefully protest against the injustice? You would have thought that we didn't start talking or asking for justice until the killing of George Floyd. How many city council meetings, how many public questions, and how many town hall meetings have gone on prior to George Floyd asking for protection, asking for subpoena power, asking for transparency, asking for us to change the culture of police officers who are racist and need racial equity training. Until there is war, sad enough, America does not hear the unheard. Unless there is damage, they do not hear. Unless there is a protest, unless businesses are affected, unless the bottom line of America's dollar is affected, then and only then will the masses listen. So we don't apologize. We ask you to repent.
Let's get to my final question.
Sure.
Who do you believe is poorly managing the social conflict divide over removing the Fayetteville Market House, and how can they solve this divide?
I would say the federal government, because even though it's in the heart of Fayetteville, it is under federal watch. When we marched last year here in the city of Fayetteville, immediately the National Guard was deployed. Immediately, the city of Fayetteville sent police officers. So I believe that if the federal government said all statues should be down, or all memorabilia, that would dismantle any city from leaving these pieces of material up to say anything, for that matter. In every case, including Andrew Garcia, Richard Rubalcaba, and even Jabari Davis, who threw a Molotov cocktail at a Raleigh police car, catching the ground on fire. He was charged federally. Why? Because the car was purchased with federal dollars. And he was labeled a domestic terrorist. So he will be spending 30 months in a federal institution because the city car was purchased with federal dollars. So I believe it is our federal government who is responsible for calling the shots in this matter. Of course, the city and citizens can make their appeal, or say they don't want to house any of these memorabilia in their city. They can choose to say, we don't want to be the host. We would like it removed. We will pay for it to be removed with city funds. But I think what you're talking about is a government that actually have been the co-sponsors of the racism and hatred. So it's very difficult to remove something. In Raleigh, the statues were removed by people. And I don't see those same people having that much power to move the slave house. So it has to be done with the government's help to remove it. But we're having to first move their mindset.
Dr. Muktarain, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes, I believe that when America is held accountable for war crimes, we will see the dismantling of the slave house, the slave market house. And that is we the people against the things that affect we the people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is all, my friends. Thank you for watching.